conversation happened and we were all shocked. Obviously, we don't want that for them. We want them to be happy family. But we kind of knew that it wasn't going to be the same, you know? And, so that was like 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm treading lightly here. Treading lightly, and I'm not going into the details of this conversation, but it was intense, okay? And so, 2 days ago, my mom got a letter in the mail, and it was from them, and it's their save the date. And me and my mom are both like, well, you know, hopefully within the last 2 weeks things have gotten like that much better, but odds are probably not. I don't think they can have resolved the major issues that he was talking about in that short of a amount of time, you know. And I think this happens a lot within relationships. You make plans for your wedding or whatever, and then time passes and, you know, things get put off for whatever reason. And then things happen within the relationship. And you have the pressures of the planning you've already made, and your family and friends asking, when is the wedding? And you just go ahead with it because you still love that person, but there's issues going on, right? From the time you started planning to now. And people end up just doing it to appease others, to not let people down, to not have people talking, you know. Sometimes that's not always the best thing to do. And that is kind of what I'm thinking in this situation. And, you know, he said to my mom that he's had these conversations with her as well. Like, it's not like he was just venting to my mom and she didn't know how he was feeling. He's the kind of person that doesn't hide his feelings. So he had definitely had these convos with her. But I guess they're gonna do the whole ceremony and on with the show. So hopefully things will, you know, be okay. She was saying, like, if she doesn't go back to work, they're gonna lose their new home, and there was just a lot of tension. But we wish them the best. Okay, so there's that situation. Now situation. There is this family on our street, this guy, and he's part of like a church organization, and he owns this house, and he takes in kids, kind of like fosters them for a little bit, that come from not the best homes, that don't have the best home of life. They're like in their teens, you know, some young teens, some upper teens, and, you know, maybe they've been in trouble, whatever, and he lets them live with him for however long they need to. Then they'll filter out and new ones will come in, but there's some that have like permanently been there for years, and some will even move away, get their own apartments, but still come back and hang out. Well, the other day, my mom's outside gardening, getting things ready for summer, because we have garden walks and things where people can come to your neighborhood and walk through everybody's garden, have a refreshment, and like admire the garden. And my mom's a part of the garden walk, and so she's getting the garden ready. the phone number, and the lady answers. And the lady is like, oh yeah, that's my dog. He must have got away. We're all the way over here, and it's like 10-minute drive. We're like, how the hell did this poor dog get all the way over here? She's like, so just bring the dog back. And we're like, oh, the dog's very scared. She's like, oh, it's okay. You know, he gets skittish, and he's been through a lot. Just bring the dog back to me. Like, okay, we'll do it for the dog, you know. So these neighbors start talking to figure out who's going to bring the doggy back. And as they're trying to figure out who's going to drive the dog back to the owner, this guy, D, and these kids come back in the van. They're driving down the street. And the neighbor next to him, he was like, what's going on? Why is everybody outside? And he's like, tells them about the dog situation. And he's like, what does the dog look like? And the neighbor's telling him, and he's like, that's my brand new dog. We just got the dog a couple days ago. We just bought the dog off this woman. And they're like, what? We called the number on the caller, and the woman said to bring the dog back. And he said that he had just paid this woman $500 for this dog. Okay? And the dog was a little nervous because it was the first day they had the dog. They went to PetSmart to get the dog some food, a little bit. And like a crate. Maybe he would feel comfortable in the crate or whatever, okay? And that's like the only reason they left. Well, they had the dog in the backyard because the dog like slid under the fence and got away. The woman that sold the dog was the one that answered. She was going to have that dog taken. Like, she told us to bring the dog back to her. She was gonna keep it. Like, she had no intention. She never said, like, oh yeah, I just sold the dog or whatever. She was like, yeah, it's my dog. And like lied and said that it gets out all the time, and to like bring it back, she never said, oh, I just sold it to so-and-so that lives on so-and-so street. Then we would have known that the dog was D's, you know. So shady biz. So we were so grateful that he ended up coming down the street when he did. Otherwise, we would have drove that dog back to that person. And who knows what would have happened when she would have called him and said, hey, I got your dog, like, what's going on? Who the hell knows? But thankfully the doggy is nice and, you know, home. We felt so bad for this dog. It was like shaking. It was so scared. And it was traumatizing for all of the neighbors because there's all these grown people like chasing this dog down the street. But at the same time, trying not to get too close to it because we don't want to further, you know, terrorize it. Or not terrorize it, but, you know, traumatize it. Nobody wanted to further traumatize the dog. So that was very stressful, very scary, and my heart just broke for that little doggy. So that happened. Now, the guy next to my mom, remember the one that had all the drama with that, his thing fell in my mom's house during the windstorm and all of that. Well, and he kind of like treats this girl like a bag of dog crap. Dog stir terrible. Okay, well, my mom has a guy who cuts her lawn. He owns a company. Comes and does her shrubs, cuts the lawn once a week from April to October. And weed wax does all the things. And a lot of the neighbors on the street hired him as well, including this guy. Now, things have gone up in price. We all know that, okay? Everybody that has a brain can realize everything has gone up in price, including gas. boss was like, no problem. Not this tool bag, okay? He was like, had a big hissy fit about it. My mom seen him outside and he was like, yeah, we're gonna fire him. And my mom was like, why? And he was like, because of the price increase. And she was like, okay. And they're not hurting, by the way. They have both very, very good jobs. So let me put that out there. If it was a situation, like, I understand an extra $10 for somebody. You know, a lot of people don't have an extra $10. They do. Well, my mom was like, oh, so are you going to do it instead? And he was like, no, I'm going to put my grandson to work, and he's going to do it. His grandson is maybe 9. 9 years old, maybe 8. So you are going to make your little grandson cut this huge lawn. He has a lot of acreage, a lot. And he doesn't have like a right-arm lawnmower. It's one of the bush lawnmowers. So you're going to fire this very nice, kind person. And he's going to lose that income and work, small business owner. And you're going to make your grandson do it instead because he raised his prices $2. And he still doesn't do anything with his dog. Nothing. Never walks the dog. Always the girlfriend that does. Doesn't pick up the, drippings the dog does. The dog has to go to the potty. He'll be out there and he'll call for his wife or girlfriend, whatever she is, and have her do it. He could be standing right next to it and he would call for her to just pick it up. So, there's that. Lastly, the other neighbor, the one that drives the truck to go, like, sell cars across state, he transports the cars when people buy them. Like, if you buy a truck in Tennessee, you live in Philadelphia, he would be one of the person to transport the car. He does it on the side. He's a garbage man by day. So, last time we talked, his girlfriend went away because she was having some issues with the substance. So she had to go away, and they like kind of separated because he had other girls there. She came home to get her stuff on like a visit, and he already had another girl in the house that he met online. And it was like a whole thing. Well, she came home and went right back. They're back together. Okay, great. Well, she was applying for jobs, which good for her, right? She asked my mom, can you help me out? Give me a good reference. My mom's like, of course. So she tells her, I'm going to send you everything via email. She does. My mom gets the email, and it wasn't a reference. She wanted my mom to pretend she was an ex-boss of hers. Everything that was in this email was like, where did she work for you? How long did she work for you? And my mom's reading it like, wait a minute. This is not a reference. This is not a reference. A reference would be like, hey, I know this person, they're a good worker, blah, blah, blah. This was all like ex-boss questions. And my mom was like, hey, I'm happy to give a reference, but I can't